Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm super excited because I'm going to be doing a review of Kiese Laymon's book, Long Division. It is a re-release, a revised and re-released version of his 2013 novel. And so I'm very excited, y'all. It's double-sided. I had to take a second and figure out which side was the right side. And we'll get more into that a little bit further along in this review. But I'm just very excited to talk about this book. Kiese Laymon has done it again. So if you're interested in seeing my review of Kiese Laymon's book, Long Division, keep on watching and let's get right into this. So with this novel, y'all, Kiese Laymon, to say it once again, he has done it again. And I was so excited to pick up this book. Y'all, as you know, I read heavy. If you haven't seen my full review of his memoir, definitely go check that out, because that was one of the best things that I read in 2020. And I constantly am suggesting it to friends. I'm constantly suggesting it to coworkers. I loved that memoir. It was something that was just so different from the way that people piece together memoirs. It was heartfelt. It challenged the way that you think. It was so good. It was so good. So definitely go check out that review if you haven't already. But this time, Kiese Laymon did it in the form of his 2013 novel, Long Division, which he's talked about a few times in interviews, the revision process and some of his frustrations with that novel. And so he has re-released a couple of his books, and so now we're getting this novel. In a 2018 interview that I was reading, Kiese Laymon refers to this novel as an experiment, a metafictive post-Katrina novel. It says, told in two separate stories and written with sharp humor and deep humanity, set in 2013, 14-year-old Satoyan City Colson becomes an overnight YouTube celebrity after an onstage meltdown during a nationally televised "Can You Use That Word in a Sentence" contest. The next day, he's sent to stay with his grandmother in a small Mississippi community where a young girl named Basie Shepherd has recently disappeared. Before leaving, City is given a strange book called Long Division without an author. He learns that one of the book's main characters is also named City Colson, but Long Division is set in 1985. City's two stories ultimately converge in the work shed behind his grandmother's house, where he discovers the key to Basie's disappearance. Intimately attuned to the confusion of young Black Americans who live under the shadow of a history that they groppily understand, this dreamlike novel shows the work young Black people must do in a country where racialized inequality is persistent but mutable, that the past is not the present, but isn't either entirely past. And so you read that and you're just like, wow, this novel definitely goes some places, and it really does. So City is amazing with words, and all of the characters in this novel find very interesting ways to use, to manipulate, to craft meaning out of words, and to express themselves and their thoughts and their questions through their language. So what I really can say about Long Division is that I would call it a love letter to language. And it was very difficult to kind of like, even when I was like pre-planning, like writing out my review, I'm like, what in the world am I going to say about this novel? Because when you read it, you're just entranced by the language and by these characters and how interesting they are. And, you know, I think that what Kiese Laymon does well is he doesn't try to be like anybody else. You can tell that he reads so many authors, so many of the greats, and appreciates language so much. and he wants to use it in his own unique way, because we can have a whole bunch of authors that try to mimic great authors, but when you are just simply inspired by and you take in this love of language from the books that you've read, and then you use it in your own way, that's something that I really, really appreciate. There's like this constant like exploration of words and their meaning, and how these words came to be, the history. Like, so the book is split into two parts. It's split into two stories. You have the present and you have the past. I know that I didn't get into this in detail because I just started talking about language and didn't get as much into plot, but just remember that this is a time-traveling novel, so our characters do move from the present and then go sort of kind of back in time, and the characters from the past kind of move to the present. It's interesting. You got to read the book to figure it out. That's why I was trying not to go too deep into plot, because then I would end up giving a ton of spoilers. But yeah, this is a time-traveling novel. And so I hope that's not a spoiler. But it's split into two. And so you kind of get this conversation about the way that language has sort of changed and the meaning of different words, and just like that sort of, it's almost like when younger people use words and like your parents and your grandparents are like super confused about them, and then like that sort of thing. That was a part of the book that I really, really enjoyed. What I always will appreciate about Kiese Laymon and Southern Black writers, is that they understand that Black folks have always been the best at crafting and transforming language, to be able to say what we need to say. Like, we already know like the history of African American vernacular English, and how, you know, the way that we speak came from, you know, a history of people from all different tribes coming together with all these various different languages, being thrown on ships, brought to America on these plantations, having to find ways to communicate and use language to express what they need to be able to say, and crafting a whole new language out of that. And I think that, you know, like, my favorite writers like Toni Morrison understood that. And I just wrapped up reading The Bluest Eye with some of my own students, and in Toni's afterword for The Bluest Eye, she discusses, you know, her goal with her debut novel was to, you know, eliminate that white gaze and, you know, step outside of that and make sure that she is showing Black life, and that she is saying the things that Black people need to say without, and knowing that her audience will understand what she is talking about, things that did not need to be explained. And you see that in Long Division. And so I really felt at home in this book, and the way the characters were able to express how they felt using language, and even like the queer nature of some of the characters. Like, you've got our main character City, who is trying to figure out, and this pops up pretty early in the novel, so it's not a spoiler, but it's sort of like this thing where he's trying to figure out whether or not he's in love with Lavender Peel, who is a character that he hates in the book. And of course you've got Maisie Shepherd, and Maisie Shepherd is so blunt, and so her writing is amazing, and the way that she expresses herself, and wants to introduce herself and have control over how she introduces herself to the world and who she is. And I think that's super important. And this book was just amazing. And I think that I appreciated this book even more because of just how Kiese Laymon is so, you can tell that he just appreciates language and appreciates Blackness and appreciates Black language. And I want everybody who picks up this book to, you know, if you don't have an appreciation for it, gain an appreciation for it. And to those that really get it, you know, you'll get it and you will love this. And so I want everybody to go pick up Long Division by Kiese Laymon. It's a masterpiece. It's an absolute masterpiece. And I think that this story is something that I haven't seen told. It's something that I honestly could look on any shelf in any store, in any bookstore, in any library, and I wouldn't find like this told in a different time period. It didn't come out at any point. This is something unique. Long Division is very unique. So, came out on June 1st. Definitely go pick it up. And I hope to see all of you in the next one. Let me know if you plan on picking up Long Division. Let me know if you've already read it. If you got an arc, if you bought it already and are on a couple of pages in, whether you finished it already by the time this video comes out, just let me know. And I will see all of you in the next one. And always remember that you are loved.